interesting race to watch as down ballot as those results still continue to trickle in. So right now, Maine very close, going back and forth, pretty much a toss up. Sick and Biden's up by 6 point. 6 point. I can't do the math there. It's been that kind of day. So James, what's your thoughts about 7.7 points there? Is the margin there? Right now, by the way, Utah Sanders up by around 14 early on. So that's the way it stands. So interesting stuff going on right now with Bernie Sanders as Sanders supporters are streaming out of the venue in Essex Junction. They're not sticking around to see what happens. Sanders said he's optimistic he'll win California. He wraps it up again after just 11 minutes on stage, the shortest speech really in, I think, probably this primary from him. He's referring slightly obliquely to Biden and saying that he wants, saying that people want to see like real change, and Biden saying, which was pretty much what he, as you heard, saying one campaign sticks with the credit card companies, one campaign with the billionaires, the millionaires, one voted for the Iraq War, one didn't. So if this is a signal of what's to come, James, I am really a big fan of it, and what it looks like it is it's drawing contrast between Joe Biden and based along policy in a fair way, which is really what he should be doing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, for Sanders, it definitely isn't helping, but I think Sanders is also going to have to realize that Biden's going to use the 5 times that Bernie had voted for the Brady bill, which is probably arguably one of the worst things that could actually be on Sanders' side right now. And I think that Sanders has to realize that Biden's going to attack him on that. I mean, the other thing that also Biden's going to attack him on is, the feasibility of Bernie's plans for this country and how they can actually go against Trump. Yeah, Bernie can do good in a debate, but the problem is that when you look at the majority of the voters amongst the Democrats and honestly independents and moderates overall, older people typically are the ones who go out and vote. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know if I can really see even 80% of the older people who go out and vote. I don't even know if I can see 80% of them voting for someone like Sanders when it comes against Trump. I don't even know if they would even vote for that matter. But that's the thing that, Sanders is going to have to deal with. Those two things he's going to have to really fight hard on, because those are two valid points that Biden makes consistently on the debate stage and even off the debate stage that I think Sanders needs to realize is, a flaw for him. He needs to kind of, in a sense, fight back and say, no, I'm electable because of this. I'm going to really bring people with my campaign, moderates and independents, with campaign this way. And, I think him not really necessarily responding with a very tough force is, I think, what may hurt Bernie in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we have seen, though, is Medicare for All is quite popular. It's been, from what we don't know the full exit polling, but I see Medicare for All doing well in a lot of states tonight and overwhelmingly favorable in all of the 4 early states. So, I mean, I think with the Democratic Party, they definitely like to see a Medicare for All type plan. I mean, that's nothing to say of Sanders' other policies, some of the other things that he's been pushing, but I think from what polls they've seen, they've been popular in the Democratic Party, not to mention the entire country. So there is that, I think, in his favor. That's something that's very helpful to him. But yeah, what looks like is going on is, I do see what he's saying with the Brady bill. And he's been challenged in the debates before. He's been challenged by Mike Bloomberg on that. And what I've already seen so far is that Bernie has, if anything, I think, been pretty fair. Like he's won, I think, and this is an honest thing with people. He comes out and says that I made a mistake. I was wrong. He said that when he with the voting for the Afghanistan war that he did once, and the anti-Brady bill votes, he said that was the wrong thing. But I have a he said I have a dematch from the NRA. I'm gonna make it even worse, and I lost a race for supporting an assault weapons ban. But what the thing was with the general election is that I think that'll play a lot better, especially in the middle of the country, because gun culture is such a big thing. But with the Democratic primary and Democratic primary voters obviously being less, more and more for gun control than the average person, like that's obviously going to play a little bit worse. But I think the gun control stuff, I feel like I hope he has a handle on it. But I think the biggest thing for him is, again, it's going to be convincing people that these plans are not as radical as many people think they are, and they can work. And also, I think making sure that Bernie, putting the message out there that Bernie can win, Bernie can beat Trump, and getting in that electability vote. Another thing he's going to should probably attack Joe Biden for his record on race, which has been consistently bad, and getting Obama. Just the fact that he was with Obama was not the best help out of all things. So those are, I think, the focuses that he should have, at least in the future, as going forward here.
Yeah, I could definitely agree there for Sanders, but I think, I think that the Brady bills really will have a good impact, though obviously a slightly bad impact for Sanders when it comes to certain areas of the country in the sense of gun control, because there are areas of the country that are definitely more passionate gun control than others. Like you mentioned, the Midwest most likely isn't going to be very passionate about it because, well, I mean, a lot of people out there are hunters, and even in his own state, Vermont, you got a lot of hunters there. So, I mean, I could definitely see his argument that he did it to vote with his constituents, which I can understand 100%. But I think that he's going to need to understand that people are still going to attack him for that and not necessarily, really care, because then someone could bring the counter argument of, well, I understand you want to vote for your constituents, but you're putting human lives at a deep risk here. That's a counter argument that could be brought up by Biden, or honestly by really anyone around the country, which is something that could really not necessarily hurt Sanders disastrously, but it definitely won't give him any sort of boost.
All right, so it looks like, according to NBC, Bernie Sanders has taken Utah. Didn't take too long. That's a good sign for his strength out west. It's 29 delegates there. And if he can keep everyone else below viability, then...
Buttigieg is in fourth place in Utah. You saw that?
That's a good pick.
11,000 votes.
With the early voting, yeah, that's something. Yeah, Biden, really not a factor there in Utah, but I'm sure he won't fret it with the night he's had so far. Delegate count, let's take a look at the way things are looking so far. Bernie has... narrowed based on what we talked about last time, the delegate count, but it's 152 to 109, and Elizabeth Warren distant 12, and Bloomberg has 7. So, yeah, can we just pause for a moment and take a look at the fact that there has, in a race that started off with 20 candidates, there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candidates left. And 2 are really 3 are dead men and women walking. It's really crazy how fast it's narrowed down. It's kind of wowing to see.
Also, Biden won Massachusetts, by the way.
Oh, Biden won Massachusetts. Why? That's in the win column for him?
Yep.
According to New York Times?
No, this was according to the Associated Press.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty reliable. Wow. So a pretty decisive night. So Massachusetts, with the that's definitely Massachusetts and Minnesota, probably the two biggest blows. And if Bernie Sanders right now, it's pretty much a back and forth at this point from Sanders, and Biden in Maine with 50.3%. Like that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But right now he is up in Utah and Texas by a very slim margin. It looks like 4 point. Oh yeah, Utah just went up to him, but Texas is very very slim. Well, not very slim, but it's a 4.2 points. So with 32.9% reporting of Politico. Yeah, so we're following that. Yeah, and it's just the idiotic nature of some of Elizabeth Warren's supporters saying Warren looks to be picking up delegates nearly everywhere or very close to it. Stop counting out women. Like, as a Bernie supporter, it just makes me want to put a bullet through my temple right now. It's...
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like, and it's just some of the stuff with like the sexism charges that have been involved in this, especially with the Bernie Sanders campaign. It's really really crazy. Yeah, it's really, and Elizabeth Warren, by the way, finishing third place in her own state. That's something that should not be over or underemphasized. So yeah, Massachusetts. I mean, how big of a blow do you think this is to Bernie? Because again, it would have been pretty nice if you won it. It would have been really nice, but looks like Biden's winning it now. How big a blow of this is this for Bernie? I think you should have won Minnesota. That's for sure. He should have won.
You know, Bernie definitely should have won Minnesota and Maine, and arguably Massachusetts. I mean, he was up in Massachusetts a couple days ago.
But it was always really going to be an uphill climb, though.
It really was, but I mean, he was polling really well. Biden was actually polling many times in third in Massachusetts, and then same thing also in California, which hasn't brought any results in as of yet. But I think that tonight we're going to see Biden is going to be third, most likely. Warren's going to be second, and
in California,
Sanders is going to be first. Yeah, most likely.
That's my prediction. Is the one big outstanding state. With polls closing in just 28 minutes. And how nice would it be if we can get off the air with 11:05 with Bernie Sanders having it called for California? Because, I mean, I don't think that's... I mean, it would be really nice, but I don't think it's going to happen based on what we've been seeing tonight. Sanders has won his third state of the night, taking Utah. With 87% of reporting, Biden's ahead in every county in Oklahoma. Biden was briefly interrupted by protesters during his victory speech, I guess you could say. Sanders is in danger of falling beneath viability in Alabama, which is really quite something. So James, before I let you go here, what have we seen? Like, where do you see this election going from here in the wake of Super Tuesday? What's coming up next?
Well, I think that what's going to be coming up next is we're going to definitely see Warren drop out. And then once that occurs, then we're going to have to see exactly how Bernie can really mobilize people behind his campaign more. I mean, Bernie does have a very big grassroots support, no doubt about it. But it doesn't seem like it's big enough comparing it to Biden's. Now, Biden doesn't really have necessarily a large amount of supporters like Bernie who are very passionate about.
Yeah, they're not very firm.
No, not very firm. I mean, they also are older people, though. So, I mean, you really shouldn't expect them to be going out of their way to be campaigning. But I definitely do think that in the future we definitely will see a Bernie versus Biden more once Warren drops out, and hopefully Bloomberg.
Yeah, hopefully Bloomberg stays in and Warren drops out. Because if Warren cares about anything to do with her career, I think she should drop out like yesterday, but really as soon as possible. So here's what's coming up, by the way, in the future. Next week, North Dakota, Idaho, and Michigan, and Mississippi, and Missouri, and Washington will be voting for president. After that, Arizona, Florida, Illinois, and Ohio. Then to round out March, Georgia will be voting for president. So that is a future look of what's to come. So that is how we stand, James. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really, really appreciate everything that you've been doing in terms of coming on, and we hope to have you again in the future.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely be on again. Thanks for having me on tonight.
All right, really appreciate it. That is James, and we just missed Joe Biden, but James Stanley, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
All right, so